Have you ever paused and questioned the financial truth underlying every headline? Crisis, election, promise, failure, economic boom, and collapse. This truth is neither explained nor defined, yet everyone accepts it. Every nation on earth, from the richest superpowers to the smallest island states, is in enormous debt. It's so large that it should be mathematically impossible, yet the world keeps turning as if nothing is wrong. But if every country is in debt, who is the creditor? Who is this unseen figure? This silent force, this invisible entity so wealthy that entire continents owe it money, so powerful that governments fall trying to repay it, so untouchable that nothing, not wars, recessions, collapses, or elections, ever seems to shake it. To answer that question, you must take a journey into the heart of the global financial machine, not the surface-level story politicians recite on television or the simplistic explanations taught in school, but the deeper truth hiding underneath everything. Modern debt, the kind nations accumulate, doesn't behave like your credit card debt, mortgage, or anything you've experienced. It doesn't wait to be repaid. It doesn't expect to be repaid. In fact, repaying it would collapse the entire global economy. The more you explore this reality, the more you'll realize that the world isn't built on money, resources, or productivity. It's built on obligations, promises, and claims on the future. It's a system that manufactures debt as easily as clicking a button. Consider the United States, which has over $35 trillion in debt. Europe is in permanent deficit mode and is borrowing endlessly. Japan owes more than twice its economic output. China is quietly accumulating shadow debts in provincial banks. Even countries with tiny GDPs have debts so massive that paying them back isn't not just unlikely, it is structurally impossible. And yet, despite the endless borrowing, lights turn on, salaries are paid, pensions are distributed, armies are funded, and roads are paved. Nothing stops, nothing breaks. The debt rises and life goes on. So how can this be? What kind of system survives by accumulating obligations that can never be fulfilled? The secret lies in understanding that national debt isn't a bill. It's a building block. It isn't something that governments owe because of miscalculation. It's the mechanism that creates modern money. When a government wants to spend money it doesn't have, it issues a bond, essentially a digital IOU. Banks, investors, institutions, pension funds, and ultimately central banks buy that bond. When those bonds are purchased, new money enters the system. Nothing is taken from anyone's pocket. No vault is opened. No physical object is moved. It's a structured illusion, a controlled expansion of numbers that society treats as real wealth. This is where the story becomes deeply uncomfortable, because it means that countries are not borrowing money from a vast global savings pool. They are borrowing from a system that generates money by creating debt. In other words, the creditor isn't a country or group of wealthy elites. The creditor is the architecture of money itself. However, this architecture has its guardians. Those guardians are central banks, such as the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of England, and the People's Bank of China. They are not traditional government agencies. They do not answer to voters. They don't give emotional speeches to explain themselves. They operate quietly, mathematically, and almost surgically. Their role is not to save economies, but to maintain the monetary system, to ensure the machine keeps running regardless of the cost. National debt is the oil that lubricates the gears. Central banks do not lend money the way normal banks do. They create it. They expand balance sheets with a keystroke, inject liquidity into markets, purchase government debt when no one else will, and control interest rates, which dictate the cost of borrowing for governments. So, when people ask, who does the world owe money to? The simple but unsettling answer is, to the central banking system and the financial institutions that orbit around it, like moons around a planet. But that's only half the truth. The real creditors, those who hold the bonds, collect interest, and demand stability and repayment, are not just mysterious financial entities, they're also the public. They're pension funds, insurance companies, retirement accounts, and mutual funds, all of which hold the safest and most stable asset known to humanity, government debt. This means that some of the world's debt is owed to you, your parents, and your future self. When you invest in a retirement fund, the fund often purchases government bonds because they're considered risk-free. They're the foundation of modern investing. Strange as it sounds, the world is essentially in debt to itself. However, this isn't a closed loop of harmony. It's a delicate, dangerous balancing act between the promises that governments make, the faith that markets have in those promises, and the ability of central banks to orchestrate it all without causing a collapse. Here's where the real paradox begins. The system cannot tolerate a world in which governments pay off their debt. If they tried, if every country suddenly decided to balance its budget and become debt-free, there would be no money left. In our modern financial system, most money is created through borrowing. Bank loans create money. Government bonds create money. Corporate debt creates money. If debts were repaid, the money used to pay them would disappear. The global money supply would shrink as if a balloon were losing air. Prices would plummet. Businesses would fail. Unemployment would skyrocket. Entire nations would plunge into economic darkness. Therefore, when politicians promise to cut the debt, they are either lying, ignorant, or performing a ritual they know will never be carried out. The system does not want its debts repaid. It wants them rolled over forever. However, a system based on perpetual borrowing has a dark side. It creates dependency not only between rich and poor countries, but also between governments and markets, citizens and financial institutions, and nations and the invisible hand of global liquidity. Poorer nations become trapped in cycles of borrowing from wealthier ones and are unable to escape the grip of interest payments that drain their resources year after year. Meanwhile, rich nations use their powerful currencies to borrow cheaply while exporting inflation to weaker economies. Central banks become the quiet puppeteers of global policy, able to trigger recessions or asset bubbles by simply raising or lowering interest rates. The deeper you look, the more you realize that debt isn't just an economic tool. It's a structure of power. It's a way to control nations without firing a single bullet. It's a way to keep populations dependent without ever saying a word. It ensures the system remains the system. The real creditor is not a person. It's not a country. It's not a billionaire hiding in the shadows. The real creditor is the system of perpetual debt creation that defines modern civilization. It's a system in which money is created as debt. Debt expands the economy, and the economy relies on continuous borrowing. The entire world is locked in a cycle from which there is no escape, because doing so would mean collapsing the very foundation of global society. The most astonishing part of this story is how normal it has become. People wake up, go to work, buy groceries, pay bills, and raise families, all within a structure based on unfulfillable obligations. In this structure, debt isn't the enemy, it's the engine. The world doesn't just function despite debt, it functions because of it. So, when you ask the question that started all of this, if every country is in debt, who is the creditor? The answer is both simple and profound. The creditor is the world we built, the system we created. It is the invisible architecture of money that touches every life, shapes every decision, and quietly rules everything from behind the curtain.